You've kept a bit of a tight lid on who you're backing in the leadership race, so I was hoping that you might be able to tell us this morning.
Well, can I firstly pay tribute to Matt Hancock, who ran a really energetic and vibrant campaign. You talked about international tensions. He wanted to invest up to 3% in defence. He wanted to harness technology to promote and improve our economy, and he wanted to reform our party. But those messages, I'm afraid, were suffocated by the subject of Brexit. So I do hope whoever becomes Prime Minister will look at Matt, look at his talents and make sure that they include him.
So did you vote for Matt Hancock in the last round then?
Well, of course we voted for Matt. We wanted Matt to move forward. What we want to do, though, is now recognise that Boris seems to be the runaway winner, and the natural cause will be to move and support him. That rugby ball has popped out of the scrum and he's grabbed it. The question is, though, do we just allow him to walk across to the touchline and put the ball down and have that coronation? I don't think that's right. I actually want to see Boris tested. The nation is watching this. We should utilise this as opportunity to showcase, to road test policies, show that we deserve to remain in number 10. So I ask my colleagues to say, who will electrify this contest? Who will actually test Boris and get him to raise his game? Who will actually allow this to go beyond our base? I believe with Boris Johnson in one corner and Rory Stewart in another, that is a competition that will be exciting. So bring that on.
So just to be clear, you voted for Matt Hancock last time and now you're going to switch and vote for Rory Stewart this time round?
That's correct.
Do you think Boris Johnson would be a good Prime Minister?
You look at his policies and where we are, he's actually a centre-right pragmatist. He's very much wanting to move Britain forward. There is this huge issue over Brexit that dominates, and I think he would make a fine Prime Minister. My concern is the fact that he may be wanting to tilt towards no deal, and that is a big concern for me. This would damage our economy, it would damage our reputation internationally, and also damage our security prospects as well. With Rory Stewart, we have somebody who's committed to make sure we leave with a deal, and that's what I would like to see.
So how far would you go in order to prevent a no deal? If, for example, Boris Johnson becomes Prime Minister and the government policy becomes to pursue a no-deal Brexit if the negotiations fail, would you vote against the government in a confidence motion?
Well, I'm wanting to use this conversation now beyond our party base to say absolutely we should avoid that. I don't think it's right to start committing yourselves one way or another. We need to make the case, to make the argument, to say we understand why no deal seems to be attractive right now, running away from a situation that's been, we haven't found a solution for the last 3 years, but that doesn't take us into a good place. It would actually see the breakup of the Union. It doesn't answer the Northern Ireland question at all, and it isn't something that anybody really voted for back in 2016. We need to be better than that, and I think that there is appetite in the EU to say let's get a deal across the line. What's really interesting is that every single candidate, Rory Stewart and Boris Johnson, all of them have said two things. One, let's unite the party. Secondly, let's resolve Brexit. If we can get every one of those candidates themselves to work together, to say we are committed to support the new Prime Minister to get the deal, we then have the numbers to get this across the line.
OK, now I'm keen to move on and talk to you about a few issues with your ministerial hat on, because we've seen a ratcheting up of tensions with Iran, haven't we, with the attacks on those 2 oil tankers. And there are reports this morning that Royal Marines are being sent to the Gulf to try and protect British warships. Can you just tell us what's happening there? And are you worried about a conflict with Iran?
Well, these tensions that are rising are a concern for us all. The Straits of Hormuz is an active international passage for oil and other commodities to come out. It's important that they are free, that they are able to move without the problems or the challenges that we face. And when I visited the region, I'm aware that there's been a lot of skirmishes that take place, not onto the level that we've seen in the last few days, but nevertheless, tensions are rising. And let's not forget, Iran has a proxy influence, a negative influence in Syria, in Bahrain, in Iraq, and indeed in other countries as well. And that is causing extra tensions in the Middle East itself. I understand the frustrations over the nuclear deal, but that does not give licence to start attacking ships in the Straits of Hormuz.
So have Royal Marines been sent there?
Well, this is operational decisions. It's for a penny more than the Defence Secretary, I'm sure, will provide more clarity of that next week. We have a substantial presence in the Middle East that looks after our interests there. We understand the Middle East. We have a number of allies there as well. We'll be working with the United States to make sure this area is safe and to make sure that we actually de-escalate the tensions there. But I don't think Iran should be under any doubt. The fact that will be determined to protect our assets and our interests in the region.
And then just finally, Sky News has learned this week that there is a Chinese-owned company who is involved in the production of circuit boards for F-35 warplanes used by the UK and the US. Now, of course, this comes off the back of concerns around Huawei being involved in the 5G network. Are you worried about the involvement of Chinese companies? And do you think the UK government has been a little bit naive?
I don't think we've been naive. This is an active question that we need to decide how we use intelligence, who our friends are, and how we deal with a very, very changing world. What we're seeing is a relationship with Huawei and its own nation, its own state, China. They operate on different rules than we do. And we need to make sure that our core infrastructure assets, when it comes to 5G, are protected and are not vulnerable. The scale of change that our life will go through with the rollout of 5G, from communications to the way we do business, it means the vulnerability will be there. And we need to be able to make sure that we guarantee that safety. And so there are further questions to be asked, I think, before the decision is made one way or another.